It's like a scratch and reveals. as you drink your whiskey, George starts to reveal himself from behind the liquid. Yeah. And
so instead of scratch and sniff, it's drink and see.
The drink and see. There you go.
Hello, and welcome everyone to episode 133 of the Mashup, the best bourbon conversation you're going to hear all week long. We're hosts Kenny, Anthony, and Steven. Hello, Kenny.
Hello, Anthony. Steven.
What's happening, Anthony?
Hello, Steven. Hello, Kenny.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, you got your voice back, buddy.
I do. And I came down here, and there is a god-awful mess on the table. Can someone explain to me what has been going on?
I think I want Kenny to take the lead on that one because it was his. Was that your brainchild to start that idea? I know we've talked about it a little bit in the previous episode, but who came up with that mess of an idea?
Alves is the one that I think started it, really. I have to double check with him. I think he's the one that said, hey, let's do this. It's probably, 60 or 70 Glencairns out and 40 Boston Rounds over there full of Bourbon.
Yeah, so
labeled 1 through 40.
Yeah, you guys have been doing this how many years?
This is the 4th year.
I was introduced to it last year.
Yeah.
We might introduce Steven to it in a future year. Mm-hmm. And I just feel fortunate that you guys let me take part in this. But when we mentioned it last year, we mentioned that, that was the time we were talking about Alves with his generosity, like surprising us with that M20, the Victor's 20.
That was crazy.
And that ended up taking the crown. But this year, instead of just so in previous years, you guys have done this by
every year.
But the way
this year.
The selection process has been different than it was this year. So that's what I want you to talk about.
Now, so every year we would all of us would get together and say, hey, what's some of the, best bottles of whatever year, 2020, 2021, 22. So in 2020, we had George T. Stagg. We did the Woodford Batch Proof. We had some old Carters. We did Elijah Craig's and Larceny's, and there were Blood Oaths, and just any release of 2020. But we kind of said, hey, what's some of the best things that each of us has tasted this year? And that's what we're going to put into the rounds. 2021, 2022, the exact same thing. Hey, what's some of the best that you've done? And we did change it up a little bit. So last year, though, we said, okay, we're only doing the top 14 or 15.
Right.
We are going for what is the best of. So we don't need to do a top 40 or a top 50 because, obviously there's some things that you can say, oh, yeah, these are great. They're probably in the 25th best. So you put them in top 40, see how they rate.
Right.
Last year was like, nope, just 15 of the bangers. What do you got? So, and every other year,
not 15 a person, 15 total.
No, 15 total.
Okay.
No. But the previous 2
good
years.
Clarification.
Yeah. But the previous 2 years, we did like 35 one year and 25, 26 the other year. And we just basically we would do, first year we were dumb. We did all like 20 something in one night, and even the championship round in one night. And fortunately, my wife drove a lot of people home. It was literally insane. But the next
just completing that sounds like a championship round.
It was insane. But the next 2 years, we actually broke it apart. We would do 8 or 9 one night. Then a week or two later, 3 weeks later, another 8 or 9. And we just, spaced it out, kept our scores. And then we had a championship round, whatever was on the top, moved on to the championship round.
Right.
And the thing is, single blinds, for some of us more experienced whiskey people, they are pretty tellable. If there's 8 bottles on the table and you give me 8 blinds, it's, when they're all spaced apart different, you can tell a Buffalo Trace from a Four Roses, from a Heaven Hill.
Yeah. It's like the old coloring book, like match them up or whatever you got there, that kind of thing. Draw the lines where they're going, and you can do that, yeah.
And, the previous 3 years, we guessed with pretty good accuracy on what they were. And so this year, Alves had the horrible and great both idea.
I'd say horrible.
That what happened is each person submitted up to 6 bottles.
It was supposed to be 6, but some submitted more, some submitted less.
That's true.
Yeah.
I ended up submitting like 12 or 13, and Alves 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But everybody else did up to 6. But basically, we all submitted them to my wife. So she's the only one that knows what each person submitted.
Right.
And we're doing the top 40.
Poor Shannon.
So we're doing the top 40, though. So of the ones submitted, you only know potentially the ones that you submitted, but you're not still 100% that they made into the final cut.
I thought you were reducing this like 15 bottles.
Nah, that was
It kind of went over.
that was 2022's thing.
So 2023.
So this year we're doing top 40.
We went to the Greed this
Yeah.
year.
So there were 40.
Kenny's top 40.
It was. So I think it was 48 or 49 submissions. 9 were eliminated down to the top 40. So even though you potentially only know what you submitted, you still don't know if yours made it into the top 40. So this is a true, legit double blind of best of 2023, not just a single blind. And we're even using black Glencairns, so you cannot even look at color and try to guess at what it is, or something's motor oil dark versus something that's light. And it's a total mind. It's a mind thing, man. It messes with you big time.
That was the other thing on this table. On one end of it, it's just boxes of Glencairns.
Yes.
And they're all black.
All black. Yep. Cannot see through them at all.
I want to interject for a second. So, being that the black Glencairns, so we had to backtrack for a second and talk about why the black Glencairns became a thing. So, last year when this was happening, it's the first year I've been a part of it, and I didn't really know. I mean, I knew to look at the color of whiskey. We've looked at the color of whiskey and commented on it and things like that.
In general, black are the berries, sweet are the juice.
Right.
It just is.
Exactly. But the problem is, I mean, Steven, have you ever had Jack Daniel's Coy Hill? That's like the really high proof, like limited release. It's like comes in, it's like a barrel proof.
You might have had it here. But,
I think I may have had it here.
Well, 2021 was Coy Hill single barrels.
Right.
And that actually won best whiskey, I believe, that year.
Okay.
And it was very good, but it was nothing like last year's that you're going to talk about.
Yeah. No, last year's was like 155
small batch.
proof. Yeah.
Wow.
So when we had those poured across the table and people were looking at it, you could see that was the Jack Daniel's.
So there was zero blind in it. You could not blind it.
You couldn't blind it because it was so dark compared to everything else.
So we ordered black Glencairns before the championship round.
Nice.
Yeah, that's how that came about. And so I will honestly say that I was teasing all the way up until we finally tasted the first handful of these, 20 of them. I was not going to use black Glencairns. I kept threatening and saying, I'm not using black Glens because I don't like it. I like to be able to see it, but I get why we're doing them completely blind. So even though I can say that here, for the record that I don't like it, I think it's a great idea.
Oh, it's a total mind screw. It messes with you big time.
Especially with those guys, because you're going to have to somehow even the playing field a little bit.
Right.
And so if you can take out, the color of it.
I know. It's just, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, and so we did a little something crazy as well, is instead of doing because the year before last, I mean, it took us forever to get it done. We weren't done until February.
Right.
Because people would get sick or something would happen or something would come up. So you try to do 8 or 9 in a night, and then you'd have to wait for the next, everybody's schedule to line up, do 8 or 9 more. So this year, which Stephen, Anthony, we all did that Four Roses pick, right?
Yes, yeah.
And it was 10 recipes.
Right.
So we started at 2 in the afternoon.
Good Lord.
And we did 10. We did 5 and 5. Took a couple hour break and did another 10. So we did 20 in one day. But we did space it apart, several hours apart.
I'm thinking about anybody listen to this, please don't judge me.
Well, I mean, they said they don't judge you. I mean, after you had those 20, you drove home without your seatbelt on, your child in your front seat. So, I mean, it's just that's how you were,
right.
man.
Yes, my child that was here with me. No way, man. That was not for the faint of heart. But the nice thing was, in the intermission, I wish everyone could have taken video of what we were eating, because everyone was like eating like it's an eating competition. Everyone's like,
tons of water, tons of food,
charcuterie board.
So what was for snack?
There was
soup, beans, and cornbread. And then I made smoked turkey and dumplings, and then a big charcuterie board.
And Caleb made...
Caleb had that venison.
Yeah, which, I don't know. I've never eaten that much venison in one sitting with that much whiskey. So the next day was interesting, to say the least. That's all I could say about that.
I do want to take an opportunity, because we have talked before about, to our listeners potentially, about how to nose whiskey, how to drink whiskey certain ways to help eliminate. Well, this has to do with drinking whiskey. Because I did help a lot of people that day.
Oh, okay. Yes.
They were very happy. The next day they texted me about it.
This is not a sponsored ad spot or anything. This is just Kenny talking from the heart.
So obviously, water plays a role. But the big thing is electrolytes, and then also some other things to go with that. So if anybody out there if they are prone to headaches, if they're prone to hangovers, there's a few things. Obviously, people have heard of liquid IV. But liquid IV is also just full of tons of sugar, and it's just still so on the electrolyte level.
And Pedialyte too.
Pedialyte.
Yep.
So what I typically do, and I got mine off Amazon and you get off their own website. It's actually called Plan A. It's like you take 2 or 3 pills. You can take it after you're done drinking or take it before you're drinking. I take it before.
Is that why they had to make Plan B?
I know. That's
Because of Plan A?
Yes. That's the whole. Dude. I know. I hate even saying the name of it.
Why do they name it that? But anyway,
I know. I hate even saying the name of it, but that's what it is. So I will take it before for sure. And then if I drink a lot, I take it afterwards as well. That's one phase. Another phase is I actually use some stuff called Astrolite.
Okay.
Not to be confused with Astral Glide.
Is that Travis Scott sponsor that Astro World?
Maybe. But Astrolite, and it's good. It doesn't have all the sugar. But what I haven't used yet, that's my next thing I'm ordering is the stuff called Waterboy. Haven't used that yet, but just as an example, you mentioned liquid IV. Liquid IV is like 870 milligrams of electrolytes with 11 grams of sugar. Waterboy is 3,200 milligrams of electrolytes, 0 sugar. Well, so I'm going to use that next. But what I have used and enjoyed is the Astrolite. I get that off Amazon. But per serving, it is 360 electrolyte with 2 carbs. But I do 2 scoops. So I'm sitting there at 720.
Yeah.
Don't you dare do 3.
So it's about the same milligrams as liquid IV, but just way less sugar. And then the big thing, though, is also that, believe it or not, that actual Plan A. It's like probiotics, prebiotics, all this stuff to help your body basically break down the alcohol.
Yeah, your belly.
Similar to how your liver does, but it does it in the stomach versus your liver having to do it. Mm-hmm. So electrolytes and that Plan A is huge, to be honest with you.
Well, Steven, do you have any routines that you follow that aren't as intense as that?
No. I mean, the electrolytes is the best thing to do.
Well,
stay hydrated.
Mine involves hose water. I like to drink water from the hose. That sometimes helps me out. And the other thing that I do is I eat half a jar of peppercini peppers.
You are so
which
stupid.
Kenny's getting so sick of me saying
so
that.
Stupid. No wonder all your scores were jacked up from the blinds. On that peppercini note, Steven, by chance, do we have any reviews?
So it sounds like something like year in review is something that probably people want to do on their bourbon bucket list, right? And someone that's new to bourbon, give them something to go towards. Like our review this week.
Absolutely. And so our review for this week is from screen name Hestia 502, which I'm guessing 502 might be Louisville. We won't hold that against anyone if it is. It says a Kentucky woman learns to love bourbon. She writes, I'm a Kentucky woman born and raised and have never been able to like or even appreciate bourbon. When I turned 50 in February of 2023, I made a list of 50 things to do in my 50th year. One of the things I really wanted was to, at the very least, to learn to appreciate bourbon. 24 distillery tours and tastings later, I get it. In fact, I love it. I've learned a lot by listening to your podcast, and my list of whiskeys to find grows every week. It's really so much fun. Thanks for all the good information and for helping this Kentucky woman learn more about bourbon. All the best. Signed, Jennifer.
Oh, wow. Sweet.
That's a lot of distilleries.
Say 24.
Yes.
Yeah, I have not been to 24 distilleries.
Not even close.
24 in a year, right?
So
turned 50 and did 24 distilleries.
Yeah.
That's mad respect.
No doubt.
And then if we played any small part in helping you understand all that mumbo jumbo, then that's great. We appreciate you listening, and we only could empathize with you. I don't know how many of those distillery tours they put a video on at the beginning and said, watch this video. You know how they do that at the tours, guys, where they're just like,
and the shame spiel when you go through the mash out house and everything.
Have you guys been to Buffalo Trace lately? Do they still show that video at the beginning where it like shows the buffalo and the cowboy out on the farm and everything?
I haven't been in a long time.
I haven't either, but I used to love the way they crowd you into that little building and like, okay, watch this video, and you're like, oh, what a way to start the tour. So exciting.
Well, it always seems like crazy lines up there, so I've been avoiding it.
Yeah, no. Well, I'd like to get back out there. So thank you for that 5-star review, Jennifer.
And if anyone else wants a shout out, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, anyway. And next time we record, we will give you a shout out. Well, another year, another recycled bottle with a new label. Here we go. For this week, we have a bottle of 2023 George T. Stagg straight bourbon whiskey.
Oh, yeah. That had to be extra long this week because that's a heck of a bottle. So The bottle is George T. Stagg from the Buffalo Trace Distillery. The bottle date, of course, is 2023. The ABV is 67.5. The proof is 135. The age is a blistering 15 years and 3 months, which is back up to the Stagg age. There you go. The mash bill is undisclosed, but of course it's BT mash bill number 1. The MSRP went up this year. Did you guys know that?
No, I'm sure it did.
Yeah. It was $99 for the longest time. And this year, the true MSRP is $125. But for those of you guys who know anything Buffalo Trace Antique Collection, you aren't getting it for $125.
That's why I don't know the MSRP. I never pay that, unfortunately.
So what is it? What'd you get at the store?
I didn't get
know?
this. This is
my bottle.
Kenny secured this.
I secured this for cool, way more than retail.
I do know that when I've seen this on the market, which it hasn't hit all markets yet, correct?
It probably has by now, though.
I don't know. I've not heard or seen anybody talk about it in Kentucky.
So is this a price hike across all
what?
BTAC?
That's true. No, it hasn't. Yeah, it hasn't hit us yet.
Yeah. What's that?
Is this a price hike across all of BTAC?
I would imagine, because I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
Even handy?
Campari, Four Roses, even at the distillery now, is 99 plus tax. They were 84. So, I mean, everybody, just cost of glass, cost of shipping,
right?
Cost of just.
That's funny that they raised
more money.
Because I read something today that numbers are down across distilleries.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And what numbers are down? I didn't read this. I have no idea.
Like Woodford and Bullet, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, their numbers are down. Single digits, but still.
That's
not,
interesting.
Not going up.
I wonder if there's a correlation between pricing and
that's what the article is making it sound like.
It might be.
Well, Woodford has not had much good drop lately, so that could also play into it.
I don't think, Kenny, are you ever going to go easy on Woodford? I mean, I don't go easy on them.
They start give us some stuff at a little bit older age and barrel proof and uncut, unfiltered or whatever, and then I'll lighten up on them.
Little cask strength from Woodford, other than their annual batch proof release, which is sometimes good, sometimes underwhelming.
And let it be 8 to 9 to 10 to 12 years old.
Yeah. So I will just say that I'm super appreciative that we're able to review this tonight, or at least talk about it, because those of you who have never seen this bottle, it's a wine bottle. It's very elegant. It has a very nice colored back label to it. A lot of writing. I know I like to make fun of a lot of the writing.
Small novel
on the back. But the coolest thing that Buffalo Trace ever did, and I'm not sure what year they did this. I think they did it in 2019. Was 2019 the first year they put old George on the back label?
He's kind of hidden back there.
I know the 2020 has it.
So
2019.
So it's 2020 or 2019. So
actually, I think it's 2020.
It's like a scratch and reveals. as you drink your whiskey, George starts to reveal himself from behind the liquid.
Yeah.
And
so instead of scratch and sniff, it's drink and see.
The drink and see. There you go. And so that's a nice little feature there on that bottle.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
I think it is 2020 because that's right when I got into bourbon. So I also had about a 2018, a 2019, off secondary. And at first I was looking at the 2020. I'm like, gosh, the 2020 is so dark.
Yeah.
Well, it's because it has a black label behind the juice. So you turn the bottle sideways, the 2020 was not much darker than a 2019, 2018.
That's what it is.
I think it was 2020.
I thought you were going to say you bought it and then you drank it real quick, hoping that you're going to see George T. Stagg in the back, and you didn't see him. Yeah. I mean, that's what people usually do when they get a BTAC, right?
This year's Stagg also has a little RFID in the cap.
Oh.
For what?
Ooh.
Scan it to make sure it's authentic.
So what are your thoughts on that, since you brought it up? Because I mean, we've heard a lot of the other bourbon podcasts and folks that talk about how little Buffalo Trace does to ensure authenticity of their products and how much they could do. And so I think that you can hold your phone up there if you have an RFID reader, and it says
close, and it'll pull you to the website and tell you what it is.
So that's supposed to tell you that what it is, and also tell you if it's been opened, right? So your bottle has a unique ID number.
It's supposed to, yeah.
Okay.
How would it know it's open
initially?
What's that?
How would it know if it's opened?
I think somehow or another it knows once it's open.
Is it going through
connects. I think it goes all the way
and
through
if it breaks, it probably knows it's open then?
Yeah,
right there. I think
I scanned it when I first got it.
That's pretty cool. So you could just put your phone onto the top of the bottle.
Right.
And it'll read through.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to turn the
cool.
NFC back on my phone now.
I think last year they did it with maybe Handy to pilot it, and then they talked about making it more widespread.
And they realized that they think is the bottle open feature was broken because all of them said no.
No one's opening anything. That's right.
Yep. So I just scanned this, and it took me to the NFC Sazerac and it says this product has been opened now.
Nice.
Oh,
so
sweet.
when I first got it, it said the product's not been opened, but now
Very
it does,
cool.
it does say this product has been opened.
Okay. Well, that works at least. So you can't reuse foils and other
Yeah.
things that people might do to try to be a fugazi.
So yeah, it's
I'm sure it's only a matter of time before someone figures out how to reseal it.
or
Yeah, I'm sure, but you
Yeah,
never know.
But that's pretty cool, though.
A little bit of anti-counterfeiting action. So as we're talking about this brand and starting to nose this whiskey, I know it's not that big of a deal to people, but it's a big deal to me. This is George T. Stagg. It's always been George T. Stagg since 2002. But then
I can see his eyes and his forehead right now.
that just shows you how much this bottle's
we've
been
drank so far.
Drank in all that bottle. But I can't remember if it was this year or last year when BT decided to rebrand the Stagg Junior. So the Stagg Junior, which is about half the age and about the same proof, comes in the squat bottle. Well, you never reviewed that. Can you believe how long that's been out and how many batches there are? We've never reviewed Stagg Junior.
really.
I don't know why. We're going right to the big
got a
Stagg.
few
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've never reviewed Stagg Junior, but they rebranded that as Stagg,
Yeah,
which I personally thought was super confusing. I kind of like the Stagg Junior
it is.
name.
Actually, I do prefer Stagg Junior name.
Yeah, it's like why not? So I there were all these conspiracy theories floating right when that happened that maybe somehow or another like they were going to replace this bottle with something else in the BTAC line. It was all fake. It never happened, but it was really weird that they gave that rebrand to Stagg. And
Well,
this is George T. Stagg.
Yeah, like 2021, there was no George T. Stagg,
That's right.
and then they changed the name of Stagg Junior to just Stagg. So the big rumors were George T. Stagg is going away.
Right.
That was the rumors.
Right. And now here it is, and it's on this table, and we get to talk about it.
So guess who knew there was not a 2021 George T. Stagg? Probably before anybody.
My guess would be George T. Stagg's relatives.
Me.
Oh, how did you know that, Kenny? You always have this inside info.
Oh no. Well, this one.
I'm the inside man.
This one I knew. Like, I actually got it. Like, I knew it before any of my buddies, any of my big bourbon guys even knew. So I was actually selling a washer and dryer.
Okay. Every good story starts like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
To a customer over the phone. We're buying it. We're da-da-da-da. So I get down, I'm like, all right, what's your email address? And I'll email you a receipt. So it was whatever her name was, blah, 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 at Buffalo Trace, or Buffalo Trace Distillery, or whatever the email was.
Oh, nice.
I'm like, Buffalo Trace. And this was, I think it was April of 2021.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, so you work at Buffalo Trace? Give me some George T. Stagg. She's like, not this year.
Oh.
I'm like, what do you mean not this year? She's like, there won't be any George T. Stagg this year. She didn't elaborate, but said but the barrels weren't good enough, you know. So I mean, I've heard different things like mold in the barrels. I've heard they didn't taste good. I've heard multiple things, but so I knew like in April of that year there wasn't going to be a George T. Stagg in 2021.
So what you did is you got on your phone on DraftKings and you went ahead and bet at the line if it was going to be released or not, right?
No,
would've
but
been
similar. I got on my phone onto Facebook.
Okay.
Onto our nefarious bourbon sites. And I bought boatloads of 2020 because I knew the prices were going to skyrocket once it was announced that no 2021. So your boy came out pretty good that year.
Yeah, and I have to say something about that. So I'm a massive conspiracy theorist. Leading up to the non-release of Stagg, George T. Stagg, sorry, not Stagg, we can't confuse them. It was usually one of the easier BTAC to get. And when I say easier, no BTAC is easy to get. But this used to be the order, right? Hard to get Eagle Rare 17, hard to get Saz 18 because there's so few produced. Then everybody wants William LaRue Weller. That's the next one in line. Then Stagg, then Handy. But Stagg, I think right before Saz pulled back and said, okay, we're not going to do this 2021 release, mold, whatever it was, they were putting out almost 40,000 bottles a year by some estimates, even though they stopped doing the estimates. I think the 2018, 17 releases were 39,000 bottles.
Yeah, they were big.
So I think that I'm using my conspiracy tinfoil hat over here and thinking that maybe in 2021 just never happened because they were trying to reset the deck and make Stagg the once coveted whiskey that it was that people went for. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've heard different things. I mean, if true, they either didn't taste good, mold, blah blah blah. And who knows? Who knows what they've done with it?
Yeah.
I really don't know.
It's like when Michter's goes, Dan McKee has tasted the liquid and it's no good for release this year. We'll be back at you next year. Michter's does it a lot. Yeah, they pull stuff back all the time.
Speaking of Stagg, which was Stagg Junior,
I'm confused. I'm just kidding.
So although we haven't done any, what now?
GTS or Junior? What are we doing?
The Junior, the regular.
Junior.
So although we haven't done a review on it, I'll give you a review. Hot to be hot.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
You have said that, and I do agree with you.
I've had it once, and it was hot to be hot.
It's not very good, man, in general. It's really not.
It's hot.
It's not. Too young. Too hot, too young.
Well, should we go for our first nosing?
Let's do it. Ooh, I'll get a little cherry.
So nice.
Man. So this actually, to me, noses more like a little bit like a weeder, which is crazy. That's saying a good thing because I really like that. Like a really nice, well-rounded oak.
The cherry. That char. It smells like
char. God, the char is so like nice. Such a deep, nice oak. I get the cherry that Kenny talked about. I get a little bit of...
You little raisin?
There's a raisin. Yeah, it's a good one.
Who knows with them, man? It's undisclosed mash bill, and who knows?
Right.
I mean, I've had friends up there on tours and friends doing barrel picks.
Right.
That have seen Blanton's labeled, it says on the barrel, mash bill 1, and it says Blanton's, and it says mash bill 2, and it says Blanton's. Buffalo Trace is just a total mystery on all that stuff. Yeah. They just don't disclose, and they just kind of do whatever they just go off a taste, I guess.
And after you had said something similar in a previous episode, but after you said it really stuck with me that it is about possibly where these things are positioned that gives the flavor. It may not have anything to do with the mash bill. That's why I don't disclose it.
Yeah.
Because they're just blending the taste.
Nice dark chocolate.
Yeah, the chocolate, cherry, raisin,
cherry.
That raisin is really prominent.
Yeah.
You pointed out.
It was actually the first thing I picked out when I first started nosing it.
Now, here's the thing I will say. It's not overly ethanol-y, but if you do nose this the wrong way, like I just did by accident, and I puffed out, the ethanol got in my eyes a little bit, made my eyes water.
I thought that was your activities from earlier today.
It was the onions.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Man, that is really nice.
This doesn't nose like it's 15 years.
What do you think? It noses older or younger?
Younger, way younger, in my opinion. I just don't get like a deep dark. You know, if you think about like King of Kentucky, it's 15, 16 years old, and it just smells like grippy. This doesn't have that grippy smell. It's more of a delicate smell.
I will say that it does lack that a little bit. Maybe that's what hit me was that little bit of ethanol.
Speaking of George T. Stagg, while we're on this.
Yes, sir.
I did have the privilege of drinking some 2009 George T. Stagg. I think you had some of that as well.
Steven's like, let me stop laughing. I'm laughing because Kenny went on tour when he got that bottle. He drove around town going, "Hey, have some George T. Stagg." He showed up at everybody's house.
It's so I wasn't gonna say it was my bottle. So I just said I had an opportunity to drink some.
But, sorry. Okay, my bad.
That's for reveal. I bought a bottle of it. It was very expensive, but it was way under what they usually go for. I don't think I've ever drinking a bottle that expensive that quick. I think we drank it all. We drank it all within probably 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I mean, it was done. I did pour 2 ounces. Well, I had 2.5, 3 ounces left. So I poured 2 ounces into a 2 ounce sample bottle, drank the rest of the 1 ounce that night. And I saved that 2 ounce sample, though. I did have that, actually shared that with Freddie on that Father's Day over at Barry's house.
Very good.
But we drank that bottle probably in 6 weeks, man. I mean, we killed that.
That's bad.
That's bad.
So,
it was horrible.
Steven, you know how it is at your house with the kids at 5:30, 6 o'clock, 6:30 if you're home, right? It's kind of pandemonium.
Right.
I think it was 7 o'clock at my house. We had just finished dinner. Kenny calls and he's like, "Bro, I'm coming over." I told my wife,
"I'm coming in hot."
I said, "Kenny's stopping over." And she's like, "Now?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Okay." And he goes in the house and he's like, "Bro," he's like, "You're having to pour this right now." And I'm like, "Thank you." I'm like, "Thanks for this visit." It was fun though. My kids are like, "Okay," they're excited when people visit. So
it's one of the best things I've ever tasted, man.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of good whiskey, and that's definitely still in my top 5, top 6.
I agree. That was delicious.
But 2009 was hazmat, and it was 16 years old. And
oh wow!
But it does not taste. It's a great mix of current modern and dusty together. It's a great mix of that.
Right.
It was amazing. I'm looking for another one.
So even though
DM, please.
Yes.
Slide into the DMs.
Slide into the DM.
So we're talking about getting a bottle of GTS, but one time, have you guys ever seen the people that chase the boxes of this? They're not chasing the box to actually get to. So these come in a 3-bottle box. That's
I see people on Instagram that are annoying to me.
Right, yeah.
And whenever this stuff drops, they'll be like, "Oh, I just happened to stop in," and they have like 3 of these boxes full, 9 bottles of stuff.
Oh, they
like,
got full stuff.
and I'm like, "What are you guys?"
Okay, well, that annoys me too.
Yes.
I never got 3 boxes, but what happened is one time when I did actually get a bottle of George C. Stagg, the person said, "Do you want the box?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I got the box, and the box had a letter inside of it. And that's the way they present all their BTAC. So it's 3-item box with the letter inside of it. And the letter has all this great information about how the bourbon was made. It's very poetic, if you will.
Is it the same thing on the back of the bottle?
I don't think so,
Okay.
because on the back of the bottle, they tell you about the legacy of George T. Stagg. This letter is like, there was black iron fermenters used. and this cooperage.
Oompa Loompas were serving it.
55 seconds of char, and this was in 2008. I think this was actually distilled. That's what I'm going to read a little bit here. It was in 2008, the spring of 2008 is when this was distilled, and so they tell you all about it. And so even though they don't tell you the mash bill, what they do tell you on that fact sheet and that little letter that comes with it is, this is Kentucky Distillers Grade Corn 1 and 2, Minnesota Rye, and North Dakota Malted Barley. So at least we know that there's some percentage of those things in here.
Fargo.
Yeah. And so they also tell you that, you know what else? There was 68% evaporation or loss of liquid from the barrels they selected to blend this year's George T. Stagg. So they give you all this information, and I thought it was kind of interesting. There's 5 different warehouses. The barrel lots come from 5 different warehouses. There are 5 different levels. So there's a lot of variation of what made it in here. And if past years are anything predicting of what this year is like, it's usually about a 300 barrel lot. That's how many barrels they blend to get this finished product.
Yeah. I don't know how many. I mean, I know I've heard the same things you've had, like 30,000, 35,000, bottles and stuff like that. And when they get to this older whiskey, they're going to use a ton of barrels because of all the evaporation.
Right?
Yeah.
I know you like, Stephen, to talk about the tiers of the warehouses and evaporations.
So this is coming from all different,
All 5.
all levels of it.
All levels. And so that's another interesting thing. Maybe that's why, Kenny, you're smelling a little bit of youth in it too, because the lower levels usually have different flavors than the upper levels and different proofs and everything else. This actually went off the still at 140, but when it went into the barrel, it went in at 125. Mm-hmm. So all this is in the fun letter that you can find. So if you're out hunting and you can't get yourself a bottle of George T. Stagg,
Just ask for a box.
get the box and look at the letter. At least you can have that little relic.
Dude,
yeah, I kept that
so-
box in the letter.
These come wrapped in that little tissue paper as well.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So in one of the local groups, I listed as a joke the tissue paper and the cap
You did
of one of these for sale.
Yeah.
And I forgot, somebody binned it as a joke or whatever. Well, somebody that's in some of the national groups that just doesn't know me, I guess locally, they happen to be in one of these local groups. So they like screenshotted that and posted it. Look at this guy. He's selling this tissue paper and he's blah, blah, blah. Who is, So I made like this big national page about that. It was hilarious. And I was like, dude, it's a joke.
Kenny from the mashup is selling the
Paper
tissue
chaps.
paper for
DM, please.
DM. Slide those DMs for some tissue, tissue paper.
Well, speaking of sliding, should we go for our first sips?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. I'm excited for this.
It is fruit forward on the nose still, though. A lot more than usual.
I can't get the raisin out. Ever since Steven mentioned the raisin, I'm like, raisins.
Yeah, definitely. It's very soft in the beginning.
Ooh.
But I'm still getting raisin now.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only is it raisin, but I'm getting like the burnt sugars, like a burnt sugary flavor. And the berries, like to me, like when I talk
This is
about
very fruity.
Yeah, when I talk about weeders, I
Berries.
think about fruity.
Yes.
Berries. So berries, burnt sugars, raisins.
This is so fruity. It semi reminds me of a Four Roses. That's going to sound weird, but it reminds me of a Four Roses. It's so fruity.
Dude, no way, because you're right. Because
telling
it's
you.
spice too. There's a spicy
Yes.
backbone to this.
It's a blueberry I'm getting.
Blueberry?
It reminds me of Four Roses. That's crazy.
That does remind me of Four Roses now that you said that. Woo. You know what recipe, though? No, I'm just kidding.
I've only had one or two of the recipes.
Yeah. Is that all you remember?
That's all you remember.
Yeah. God, that was such a good day.
All right. I went back for a second drink. I'm going to have to pour some other years I have open,
Right.
but this just does not taste like a George T. Stagg to me.
In the sense that, so I think I'm with you on.
You're right. I switched your Glen when you weren't looking.
No. I'm saying like.
Your face. You're like, you're right.
Like like the typical profile they go for, because this is way more fruity.
Right.
It still has some heat to it, but it's a little more watery and heat both. It's not as viscous and thick, and doesn't. I don't know. This tastes different than a lot of other stags.
So for me, the difference is what you're talking about is in the richness of the oak. So the richness of the oak in the nose doesn't transfer over to the palate, and I think that's got to do with the viscosity and the grippiness. Usually, when you have something that's this old, like you were saying, it does hit a little bit harder. This age and proof is usually like chewy.
Yeah.
This doesn't
Viscous.
feel as chewy as
That Vicks Vapor Rub you smell?
So that's the spice. I think there's some
minty.
spicy, like some minty spice going on there.
And that's why maybe to me a Four Roses. I get some mintiness on Four Roses as
That
well.
is minty spice.
So I get some
Menthol.
minty, some menthol, some fruit. So like fruit and minty and menthol on some Four Roses. But yeah, this is not as grippy and viscous as most others to my knowledge.
Wow, that's a really interesting pool there too. Tonight, like, and there's different nights where I feel like we lead each other a little bit, but that minty spiciness is interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Must be that Minnesota rye. So as we're chatting over here, Kenny just walks over to his shelf, as he does at times, and comes over here with looks like another George T. Stagg, unless he's refilled a bottle with something, which he hasn't.
Always a possibility.
Yeah. But
Looks like George T. Stagg Jr. to me.
What are the links they'll go to mess with people?
you can't tell us though what year it is until we taste it, right?
Yep.
I do like this random blind though, because now it gives us another stag to compare to. And I was actually just going to say that now that we're tasting this, even talking about nothing else, if we were past try and buy right now, it'd be kind of marginal for me because I've tasted a lot of good whiskey now, and I wasn't sure if this stag is it.
See that? Have you gone in yet?
No.
Take a sip real quick.
I'm going to sip the other mystery glass. Well, I know it's Stagg, but I don't know what year it is.
It's creamy and it's viscous, and you got to chew it.
And the flavor profile to me is completely different.
Totally different.
Yeah,
Totally
it is.
different.
This is
the oak.
It's thicker. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
this is the nice sweet oak, well aged. It's almost like even the berry notes and the darkness to the fruit is even darker and tastier, and there's more cigar and tobacco.
I was saying that's what was missing. I was missing that dank, that dark, that deep.
The
That's what I was saying.
first sip of George T. Stagg I ever had was on a New Year's. I always talk about that way back in the day. I think it was a 12 or 13. And then the first bottle of Stagg I ever had, thanks to a really good friend, Brian, who hooked my wife up for my birthday. 2018 Stagg.
I hooked your wife up for your Christmas.
You did. Absolutely. Yeah.
When I saw that video,
That was
What, did you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, was it not awesome?
delightful
All right.
times.
I don't mean to interrupt. I apologize. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. But no, you've got me some good stuff. But I'm thinking like this taste that I just sipped of the one that you poured for like semi-blind tastes more like the 18 that I remember. I remember drinking it going, oh my God, the tobacco, the berries, the char, ooh, And the one, yes, they're different. But I'm going to yield to someone else here. I'm talking too much.
No. So two things. You hit on it earlier with this 2023 Stagg. You said the nose reminds you of a little bit of a weeder. This also, this reminds me of borderline taking like a William LaRue Weller and a Four Roses and they had a baby together or something, because it is got that menthol, that mint, like you just pointed out, Stephen.
Yeah.
And it's got the fruitiness of Four Roses, but it has a little bit of that WLW kind of heat and that high proof wheat kind of swag.
it's what the ladies always called them.
Wheat swag.
The wheat swag. We got to do a pick. We got to do a label.
That's a great name
The
for
sticker,
a pick.
wheat swag.
Wheat swag. I love it. Holy cow.
But is this not totally different profile? I'm not saying they want all George C. Staggs to be the same taste, but they still, most of them follow a very similar, just rich, deep, I'm here, feel me roar kind of thing. And this is watery and fruity and different.
It totally is. My goodness. This is like night and day to me. So
You would never guess that's George C. Stagg ever.
no.
If I poured you 2020, 2019, 2018, you could tell this is George C. Stagg. Even the 2019, that's that lower 116 proof.
Yep.
It's still a great profile. Still a little bit, chewier and viscous.
This does taste like Four Roses. My goodness.
Dude, I'm telling you. That's on my first sip, that's what I got, like Four Roses.
When you taste them back to back, it's even more like prominent, amplified. Yeah.
I'm gonna drink this, and the quote unquote mystery one is the 2020 George C. Stagg.
Oh, okay.
So
That might be the one Steven has. Steven has a Stagg.
I either have a 19 or a 20. And I
Okay.
just don't remember. I remember
So-
my wife got it to me as a Father's Day gift.
just look at the
That's
proof.
Great wife.
Yeah, at MSRP.
You've kept her. No.
130.4.
Yeah.
And it's 2020. If it's 116,
I don't remember.
9. I'm saying when you get home and look.
Oh, you know what? I think it was the lower proof year.
Okay.
I think I remember now.
That
So
was
the
still a
lower
good year.
proof, here's
Still
the
a good
thing.
year.
That lower proof, it gets hated on because if you look at Stagg in general, they've been 135, 141,
Yeah.
I mean, the high
Yeah.
proofs,
Yeah.
that was a low proof. That is one of the better tasting ones, though.
I agree.
Mossick goes off on people when they say they don't like 2019 Stagg.
I can see him doing it.
Now imagine Mossick going off.
Listen,
No, but he goes off, rightfully so. Though people say that without blinding it or really, actually, truly, just say
just looking at the number and
yeah, they just look at the number. They don't drink the juice and just take it for what it is because it honestly tastes amazing.
judging it by the cover, right?
You got it.
Man, this has been very eye-opening because on my list every year, the one whiskey that I always tell people, if I could get my hands on any whiskey, it's going to be George C. Stagg.
Yes, that's
Like,
the BTAC I want.
That's just the one I want. I would have said once upon a time William LaRue Weller, but LaRue Weller for the price tag it carries and how it stacks up against Stagg, I'd take Stagg all day.
Even at the same price?
no,
no,
William LaRue though
yeah.
typically goes for 16 to 1800.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Stagg
know,
is
but I'm-
usually about 1,000.
But I'm saying, like, if you got it at the store.
If I'm at the store at point of purchase, I might take a William LaRue Weller, but I never see him at the point of purchase. So,
Are you just doing that to resell or are you doing it to keep?
no, to keep.
Okay,
of
that's what I
course.
figured,
Yeah, absolutely. If I get my hands on BTAC, I think I've almost always kept it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, never. I don't think I've ever sold a BTAC.
I'm going to
I've
be
even
selling
traded
that.
for
I'm
'em.
going to be selling my William LaRue paper soon.
Yeah, you are.
And the cap, I think.
Oh, you have a paper?
Yeah.
You have tissue paper?
18. It's a good year.
I might have a
18
buyer lined
tissue
up for you
paper.
on that. We'll see.
What's that?
I might have a buyer lined up for you.
Nice. Okay. So, Kenny, would you pass, try, or buy on this 2023 George C. Stagg?
I'm not ready yet, Anthony.
All right. Well, in the spirit of lengthiness and love here, I have to quickly wax poetically about the relationship between Edmund Haynes Taylor, Colonel E.H. Taylor, and George C. Stagg.
I was wondering if you're going to talk about history.
These two once great friends became mortal enemies. And toward the end of their icy or once hot and then icy relationship, they were suing each other. They did not like each other. I think it caused George C. Stagg to pass away prematurely. I don't have any evidence of that, but there's a lot going on there. So here's what I'm going to say. This is how I'm using this in my past drive-by. I thought we had George C. Stagg at the table in 2023. Then you brought out 2020. And when I taste them next to each other, I felt like 2020 was George C. Stagg and 2023 might be Colonel E.H. Taylor in disguise. Okay. So that's where I was going with this. I had a point. And so here's the thing. I don't think I could ever pass on a Stagg. If I get the opportunity to buy a Stagg, especially at MSRP, I'm going to buy it every time. But as it relates to the 2023 Stagg, I think I'm just going to have to say it's a try. And it pains me to say that because I almost always say buy premium. If it's retail, I'm going to buy it.
If it's retail, you cannot lead the listeners wrong.
No, it's retail. You're going to buy it.
All right, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
you're going to buy it. Sorry.
Hang on. If it's $500 or less,
Even 500.
you
Yeah,
have to
I
buy.
could, yeah.
Because they go for 900 to 1,000.
Yeah, so if you're in a store and somebody offers you this at reasonable, like if you go into a store tomorrow and somebody says, I got the new George C. Stagg and I'm going to charge you $800 for it, I probably would not spend $800 on it.
So-
I can guarantee you I wouldn't do that.
So I think tonight's pass try buy needs to be a little bit different.
Okay.
Tonight's pass try buy is if you happen to score one, let's say a quote unquote retail, because obviously it's a buy at retail.
Yeah.
Yeah, all day.
All three would
So
say
here's
this.
the thing:
Yeah.
would you open? We're going to open. So would you open? And that is the thing.
Would I open it at retail?
The answer is no, because you said
No.
your try.
No, you know what I would do with this if
Right.
I got it at retail and I was selling for $1,000 or $1,100? I would, if I got it retail. So here we go. Here's my bourbon math for you.
All right.
Retail is $125. If I get it for retail and I can get $1,000 out of it, that means I got $1,125 in it, right? Total. I'm going to put the extra couple $100 in and get myself a King of Kentucky. That's what I'm going to do. So I can have a high proof, high age.
Yeah.
That's what I would go for personally for 2023. 2020, I actually liked it, man.
Yeah.
I think I might spend the money on it. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'll shut up and let you guys talk. But like, I like that. Would you open it? Would you open it if
That's
you got it
interesting.
retail? And I don't know that I would.
Yeah.
After tonight, I think you may have saved me money, Kenny, if I happen to get one
Before
of
you
these.
even tried this, would you enjoy it if you had it?
Yes. Listen,
Before we tried the 2020, would you have enjoyed the 2023?
I can't be a hypocrite. I like the way it tasted. I like the way it nosed and everything, but I wouldn't like paying more than what we were talking about, a certain
More than
threshold.
$500 the max. I wouldn't
probably
even pay 500 based on
At
how
max.
it drinks. Based on, so this is leading to me. Based on how it even drinks, I wouldn't want to buy that at $500 the way it drinks. So I am a pass with as far as opening it. I would definitely, obviously, buy if it's a good price. I'd buy, but I would actually trade that for another year Stagg.
Okay.
This is not Stagg-like, in my opinion. It's water. It's got the proof. It's watery, but it's like a Four Roses. It's just not worth that price tag, in my opinion.
So the proof of the 23 is 135?
135.
And the proof of this 20 is
130.4.
I think this year's Stagg drank lower than this 20. I think it's smoother. Do you agree or not?
I guess
it kind of drew.
yeah.
Let me go back one more. It kind of drew me up. I thought it drank as hot as it said, but the thing is, Stagg in general, and that's the thing about George T. Stagg. That's the one that's always the grippy,
Right.
bottle, and they don't go for smooth on that typically. They're trying to get more of the more refined taste out of some of their other releases.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with you if we're going to define smooth as being like kind of what Kenny said, like a little bit lighter on the palate.
Right.
And a little bit more smooth. Yeah. I get that.
There's
Yeah, I would say
definitely
it's a smoother sip.
I mean,
And that's part of the reason why I said it doesn't taste like a normal George T.
But it's
Stagg.
smoother.
Yeah.
It's just more delicate. It's delicate.
it's delicate, which I
I think
like.
delicate's the word because it's still
That's
got
good
higher
word.
proof to it, but it's
Yeah.
delicate. So if you're a traditional George T. Stagg person,
You're probably
in my
not gonna
opinion,
like
this
this.
is not
Yeah.
this is not your bourbon this year.
I like that delicate. Expand on that, sir.
So yeah, I the fact that it's drinking and it's 5 points higher than this other one, it's drinking smoother. I would open it. I know you can make you can make a lot of money selling it or upgrading, but I think if I was someone in another state got their hands on this, I'd definitely be happy in opening it.
Yeah. No, I don't. Listen, if you take out the factor that I've tasted a lot of different whiskeys, we all have tasted a lot of different whiskeys. If we take that out and just look at it for what it is, it's really hard if you get this bottle at retail not to open it.
Oh, it's premium.
It's premium.
But
and
I would
it's
take
good
that
premium.
same bottle and I would just trade it for a 2020, 2018, something like that. Personally, myself.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you never open it and start drinking it, you're never going to know what George T. Stagg looks like.
Yeah, that's true.
Because,
You won't get to see
You
his-
won't get the reveal of it.
He had a
Now-
really nice beard.
I don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, the spoiler alert. The beard is fire.
I have a part two to my answer. Kind of like how Anthony had a little tangent on his stuff.
Is that what you want to call it?
Yeah, I would like to back up to December
What year?
19th.
Okay.
Year of 1835.
Oh.
That's a couple of Decembers ago.
That's when George T. Stagg was born.
Oh, that's not too far off.
And Anthony,
Yes.
what county was he born in? The top line.
It was Gerard. No, it's what is it? How do you pronounce it?
Garrett.
Garrett.
It's Garrett. He set me up. I always
my
forget that
goodness
in
gracious.
Kentucky you got to pronounce everything the way it looks, or else you're wrong.
Get him. All right.
Local guys got me again.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. So, Steven, what about you, bub?
So I guess I'll buy. I definitely see why you guys said try. I don't know if I'm a pass, but I see why you're saying pass just because
I'm saying pass on opening.
On opening.
I'm 100% buy. Like, if you find this for $500 or less, that's 100% buy. But
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
a pass on opening just because I would trade it for something that tastes more traditionally George T. Stagg.
right.
So we have a very confusing pass try buy this week, but I hope you all can just read through the lines, decipher through that, and figure out what's good for you.
And if you can't figure it out, then maybe you can go read about how Colonel E.H. Taylor and George T. Stagg ended up hating each other.
And with that, thanks for listening to this week's edition. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Mashup KY.
Don't forget to visit our partner, bourbonoutfitter.com. Enter code The Mashup for a special discount.
Also, let us know your thoughts on this bottle in the comment section. Until next time, keep it neat.